I pulled up at the warehouse the anonymous caller tipped us off to. It's the only thing on the road. Everything else is empty, overgrown lots. One of the lots had a car in it. Gavin was outside, leaning against his van. We were both in our standard work overalls. The idea is to look like an electrician or painter or some other kind of worker so nobody thinks you entering a building is suspicious. It also gives a good reason for the sound of power tools. Social Engineering 101. Gavin looks exhausted. He's obviously not been sleeping much, if at all. He gives me that silent upward nod of recognition, takes a final drag on his cigarette and puts it out on the van's front tire. He reaches into one of his pockets with the other hand and holds out the pick gun for me to take off him. He knows I've got my own, but when I see how much his hand is shaking, I know what he's really saying. It's that he can't do it. I take it. He uses one of those modern electric pick guns. I never liked them. He's already set his up with the correct attachments, though. I open the lock about as fast as it would if I had the key. That's kind of the point. You don't want anyone to see you fumbling around at the lock. It screams, I shouldn't be here. The door swings open. It's a basic wooden door, hardly secure. They can't have kept much important in here back when it was used. That's probably why they, whoever they are, chose it. It was a good choice. It's obvious that nobody cares about this place. I hand the lockpick back to Gavin and pull out my flashlight. I turn it on and shine it into the warehouse. Nothing. Well, some empty shelves, dusty furniture, and some shipping pallets, but no bodies, no blood, nothing to clean up. I turn to Gavin. Do we have the right place? He shrugs. Probably the least reassuring thing he could have done at this moment, but he was already pretty spooked about the serial killer leaving messages for him at crime scenes, and that was before we broke into an empty, abandoned warehouse in the middle of nowhere. I let him off. I took a few steps in, figuring there has to be something here. Maybe Gavin was just freaking out too much. It could be another client, maybe the lab or something they knew. Might be some chemical byproducts tucked away in the corner in containers or something. I scan around, cutting through the darkness and making my way towards the back. It's deadly silent with the exception of the police tracker occasionally breaking out into a call for backup or a request to look into something. None of the boys in blue seem to be anywhere near us, and hopefully it'll stay that way. 20 or so minutes later and still nothing. I'm about to give up when Gavin calls out. I've got something. Well, what? It's just a piece of paper with an address and a time. I make my way back over. The address is somewhere in a housing project. We are over that way a few times a year. Last time was only a few weeks ago. We have 2 clients in the area who are each other's closest competitors. I check the time on my watch and compare it to the note. It's 2:15 a.m. now, so we have an hour, but till what? I look at Gavin and it's clear that he knows as well as I do that we have no choice. If his name is at the scene, we can't leave it around to get found by the police. We make it there with 10 minutes to spare. There isn't much traffic on the road at this time of night. It's one of those older style buildings, only about 6 floors high and with a fire escape in the outside. I park in the alley, keeping the driver's side door as close to both the back exit and the fire escape. Gavin blocks the entrance of the alley to block the view of the back entrance from the opposite side of the street, but also to stop anyone turning up in the alley if we have to leave with only my van. If not, we can also drive off in different directions to force any pursuers to split up. This kind of stuff is automatic to us now. You always have to be prepared for the worst, even though we rarely need to get away from a scene quickly. I get out and make my way over to Gavin's van. He's obviously doing even worse than he was before. His face is pale and shallow, and his eyes seem to look straight through me to something far beyond the horizon when he turns to speak to me. Hey, what if it's a trap? Fuck. He was right. We had no idea what we were getting into. What if someone was waiting for us? We weren't armed. I told him to wait, and that I'd climb up the fire escape and try to scope out the apartment as best as I could. I went back into the alley, pushed the dumpster into position, and used it to get up high enough to grab onto the ladder. The lights in the other apartment were all turned off, which made sneaking up easier as that probably meant nobody was awake. Still had to be careful, though. The workman costume didn't work as well when you were climbing into an apartment from the fire escape at 3 a.m. When I got up to the window, I could just make out the apartment living room. It didn't look like anyone was there, so I took a gamble and shone my flashlight in. Another empty room. What the hell was going on? I checked the window for an alarm screen or one of those cheaper alarms you just stuck on. It was unlikely anyone in this area could afford a fancier hidden system, which I always thought were pointless. The point in a security system is letting intruders know it's alarmed so they don't bother. I opened the window with a pry bar slowly and slinked in through the gap as soon as it was large enough. I searched the room but still couldn't find anything. I moved into the kitchen, to the bathroom, to the bedroom, but still nothing. The last door was locked. I hesitated. Should I really be opening this? I figured whatever was behind that door was what I was there for. I pulled out my not electric, mechanical, and quite frankly better pick gun and popped open the door. That's when it all came flooding out. Everything. Just bits and pieces from bodies of every shape, size, color, and the only thing that had been keeping them there was that door. I didn't have time to gather my thoughts before Gavin called me. The screen on my phone lit up with his name and the time, 3:16 a.m. 1 minute after the time on the note. My stomach tightened. Get out now. The apartment just got called in as a domestic dispute on the tracker. There's a squad car only 4 blocks away on their way now. Get out. I panicked, but in that panic something became clear. This is what was planned, for us to get caught here at the scene. If Gavin's name was here, then that could be the end of us. I had to find it. I had to find where they'd put his name. I started kicking and swiping the parts away from me, scanning over everything, looking for Gavin's name carved or tattooed or written on something. Nothing. Nothing anywhere. No sign of his name. I went faster, one forearm with the hand still attached and a name tattooed to it. But it was Grace, not Gavin. Time was running out. I dug in with my hands and tried to clear the floor in the closet, but there was nothing there either. Just a stained carpet. Shit. I caved in and made a dash for the window. My phone was going off in my pocket rapidly. I didn't have the time to give the obvious answer to the question, "Where are you?" I ran as fast as I could down the fire escape while remaining light-footed and dropped into the dumpster, which was thankfully half full. I got into the van as quick as I could and turned the key, which I had left in the ignition for good measure. Gavin would hear me drive off and know that meant he was good to go too, so I pulled out as fast as I could without making it seem like I was making a getaway. Just a reckless driver with nothing more to hide than a few speeding tickets. That's hopefully what any neighbor who heard me would assume. After I was a few blocks clear of the scene, I made my way to our office. I call it an office, but it's more of a safe house, and I knew I could get in without being seen and get the blood off my overalls. I figured Gavin would probably be there already. He parked facing east, whereas I had to loop back around. After the initial shock of what had happened wore off, I realized it was actually worse. What if I had left behind evidence? There's no way that scene was not going to get a thorough search. Forensics would be all over it before sunrise. If Gavin's name, or my name, or anything was there and I hadn't found it, this was the end of the road. That was exactly what the killer seemed to want. For us, or at least Gavin, to get caught.